So it has been revealed that West Ham are interested in Aston Villa midfielder Jacob Ramsey and hope a deal can be struck between 25 and 30 million pounds. This is a big yes from me if it is 25 to 30 million pounds. But first, welcome to Alex on Irons. If you guys could please subscribe for daily West Ham content and latest news, whether that be in this long form content or on the short form, which you'll either see on YouTube or TikTok. And yeah, let's get into today's news, which is Jacob Ramsey is our latest midfield target. Now, we had Fabio Vieira come up the other day. We also had Arjun Deshiri yesterday, no longer going to AC Milan and looking for a move to the Premier League, and apparently us and Nottingham Forest are interested. And of course, our interest in Harvey Elliott and Tyler Morton remains as well, so there's a lot of midfielders in the mix for West Ham at the minute. I have to say Jacob Ramsey would be one that sticks out to me as definitely go get this guy. He's 24 years old. He is literally a week older than me, so, still in the prime of his life. And obviously he's fallen out of favour a little bit with Unai Emery at Aston Villa, not playing as much last season. Still being effective when on the pitch, but not getting anywhere near as many starts as he was a couple of seasons ago. Not too injury riddled. He's had a couple issues last season, but nothing too heavy. That doesn't seem to have too big of an injury history. And here apparently we believe we can get a deal done for 25 to 30 million. Now it does help that this is another client of Will Salthouse. And I know some West Ham fans will be groaning already. I think the Callum Wilson deal has put a bad taste in our mouths about dealing with Will Salthouse, but that should not be the case because Will Salthouse, again, as I said yesterday, has Kyle Walker-Peters, has Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and those guys, are going to be really key parts of our squad. So I do think, we can't let the Salthouse thing be an issue for this deal. And actually, I think I'm a major advocate for, if you have connections, use them to your advantage, especially if it's going to, be good transfers for us. It doesn't mean therefore you just use them for easy fixes, like Callum Wilson would be an easy fix, but it wouldn't be a good one. It actually would probably hinder West Ham more with the wages and that sort of thing. But Jacob Ramsey, 25 to 30 million, I don't know, because I feel like this would be a Harvey Elliott replacement, and I'm really wanting Harvey Elliott. I might have got myself excited about the Harvey Elliott deal just because it was a player that when we were linked, I was like, oh yeah, this guy's really good and he's only going to get better. So Harvey Elliott would be my first choice for a midfielder this season. I know some people don't agree with that because the price, I'm just there going, I know he'll work at West Ham. I know the way he plays, the crowd will love him. I just think it's a perfect fit, but sometimes you don't get your perfect fit, so we'll see. Jacob Ramsey certainly wouldn't be a bad choice. When you were so pivotal a couple of seasons ago, and then you've had a couple of seasons where you still played, you still got minutes, don't get me wrong. This is not as bad of a transfer as somebody that hasn't played in a year and has been injured now. This is not that kind of transfer. It doesn't feel the same as the Harvey Elliott situation where Harvey Elliott's not playing because he's not, at the quality of Liverpool's midfield. Jacob Ramsey, in theory, should be playing more minutes for Aston Villa. I would say, looking at that midfield, I could be wrong, I don't watch too much Villa, you guys could easily say absolutely not, and the midfield they play is way more effective, and you'd probably be right, because again, I know little to nothing about how Aston Villa set up and play, and I don't know the ins and outs and the week-to-week games of Aston Villa and how, Jacob Ramsey fits into that system or doesn't. If you looked at it on paper, I can see why Harvey Elliott's not starting. Jacob Ramsey, I'd question why he isn't starting as much, what's going on there. But, again, as I say, to me, this would be a great transfer, but if it was the option over Harvey Elliott, I don't know whether I'd like it. Obviously, it would give us a bit more money. Apparently, the 25 to 30 million is what we're hoping for. So it's not like it's not a valuation. It's not he is valued at this much. This is what we're hoping to pay. So I think it would be somewhere close to the 35, 40 million range. And at that point, when you go for Harvey Elliott, for me, if Aston Villa try and get it to that level, they might not. They might be thinking 25 million, 30 million, get them off the books, job done, happy days. I don't know. That's the issue with a transfer like this. When West Ham are interested, without there being an actual inquiry and there being a response yet. The second part to all this, we may have added Jacob Ramsey to our transfer targets. However, ex-West Ham United employee has also said this does rely on us getting midfielders out the door, which is going to be tough for us, I think, in the next couple of weeks. Again, I've said who I think will go, that being Guido Rodriguez and Andy Irving, but Guido Rodriguez is not so sure and wants to be a major part of West Ham's plans this summer and going forward. It's a tough one, isn't it? And again, I know Andy Irving going is not going to be the most popular choice. I know some of you guys will be upset by that, and I am too, in a sense, because I think, as I said in the video previously, what he stands for and putting in the effort and getting to the Premier League and giving it your all, which he clearly did last season, but I'm sure he will do this season if he does stay with us, should be rewarded, and that means he should stay. But looking at the other midfielders we got, we're not going to get rid of Souček. Hopefully we don't get rid of Paqueta. Edson Alvarez could go, but I think Potter does like him, and I think the rumours of him and Alvarez falling out now do appear to be just that, because I think if there was a big push from Alvarez's side and Potter's side, if there was a falling out, he would have gone by now. And if there was a falling out and they patched things up, which again could happen, Potter does strike me as the sort of man that is open to fixing and patching up things, unlike other managers we've had in the past. Potter could say, hey look, you know what, that's the past, we move on now, we go forward. Edson Alvarez as well has just linked up with West Ham recently in the United States, which just show that he's part of the plans, unlike somebody like Emerson who did not travel because Potter has told him he doesn't need to. It's been weird for West Ham on many fronts, as you guys know from doing the daily content. I've sort of this guy's available now, we're interested in this guy, but there's not been any movement, and I think that's because we haven't got players out the door. We've only got rid of Mohamed Kudus, and we've not moved anybody else out. I don't think that'll be an issue for the goalkeeper. I really don't know why we've not made any attempt to sign a goalkeeper, because, you know, there's already a spot we need to fill, so it just makes sense to get a goalkeeper in. The midfield is a weird one, because we still need to sign midfielders because they're not up to speed. We do have a lot of midfielders. We have like 7 or 8 if you include Earthy, Potts, Orford. You know, by that point you are looking at a strong amount of midfielders. We just need to move some on so we can put them in the squad, and I don't think it's going to be easy to move them on. Guido Rodriguez, I think, will end up leaving. But again, I don't know. That interview he did really made me think he might not. But just watching the Man United game did worry me. I think he has to go. I just don't think he's good enough. And that does suck. I'm not wishing a player to do bad. And, you know, as I said in my video when I said players that, you know, will leave this summer, it always hurts when a player doesn't succeed at West Ham. I never sit there and go, I want this player to perform badly. It never happens. It never will happen. It doesn't matter if Callum Wilson joined West Ham. I would still, every time he put on that shirt, support him, whether I wanted him at the club or not, because that's what I think, to me, is what being a fan's all about. When fans were booing Mavropanos last season, I didn't get it. Why would we want a player to actively perform badly? Why would we turn against one of our players? To me, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. Looking at the face of it, when you go, I don't know, let's just say, for example, looking at it, we get an attacking midfielder and we get a defensive midfielder. This is unlimited budget, by the way, so this is me saying Jashiri as the defensive midfielder, Elliott as the attacking midfielder, and say we got rid of Irving and Rodriguez. That would give us a midfield option of Lucas Paqueta, Edson Alvarez, Thomas Soucek, James Ward-Prowse, Harvey Elliott, Jashiri, Potts, Earthy, Orford. You don't need any more players than that. In actual fact, I'd argue you probably could loan out one of Earthy or Orford. I think Potts will stay here. I think he's ready to, actually. And kind of makes me think we don't need to sign a defensive midfielder, which I know will raise alarm bells to you, because relying on Freddie Potts is a bit tough. But I don't think we are, because I do really rate Edson Alvarez as a midfielder. I do think he will come good under this new Potter system. I just think we were learning the Potter system last season and it didn't work out. What we need is a ball carrier, and I do think Jacob Ramsey can do that. Again, I just don't know whether he's worth the same amount of money as a Harvey Elliott or as a Jashiri. It's in the same realms of money, only because he's not played that much in the last 2 seasons. I do think that if he played a lot, I think we'd be biting the hand off. And again, that could mean that, you know, he arrives 25-30 million, we think bargain, he goes in a couple of seasons for 50-60. That could be a situation. I do think we're more likely to get Ramsey than Elliott, which to me is a shame. Although I do like Jacob Ramsey, I do think he's good. So when I've seen him, I really like him. I was actually surprised when I was looking at his stats that he's not really played that much and that he would be available. You know, just because in my mind's eye, he was a young player, you know, 22, doing really well. And I thought, he's just going to continue to do really well. And he just hasn't played as much as probably you would think he would. Which actually, the more I talk about Jacob Ramsey, the more I'm actually up for it. And I think, yeah, great deal. But I think it's just because of my wanting to get Harvey Elliott in that I'm being a little bit blinded and maybe just not thinking straight and just being, oh no, I don't want this deal. Because actually 25 million for Jacob Ramsey, if it is at that value, then great. Get him in, get something like a Tyler Morton in, maybe get a Jashiri in. If you really want to break the bank, you know, adding Jacob Ramsey and Jashiri to our midfield doesn't actually seem that bad, does it? And all we need to do is get a striker and a goalkeeper, and I think that's our window complete. I really do. I don't think we actually need that much of a rebuild. You know, we were looking in the summer and we were talking about how much of a rebuild we need. Now we've got a Gerd back in the defence. We got Walker Peters on a free. We got Juff. That's 3 new players. I know Gerd's not a new signing, but he will act as one because we didn't have him available last summer. And actually, as soon as we get the goalkeeper fixed, you know, we're kind of halfway through the rebuild, in my opinion. That might be hyperbolic, but that's genuinely how I feel. I think we are halfway through this rebuild. Jacob Ramsey would not be a bad shout. Quality player. Again, I'm just a bit worried that he's not played, but that might just be down to Emery's system. And again, Aston Villa have signed a good amount of players in the midfield, so that might be why. But I just don't know why you wouldn't pick Ramsey. But again, I don't know much about Unai Emery, and maybe I'm worrying over nothing. And I think that might well and truly be the case. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see. The fact that we need to move midfielders on first is a bit of a worry, but obviously I understand it. You know, we have too many, so we do need to move them on. I do think we need to get to work at moving them on, though. I don't think we're going to get much for the two that we will move on, which will be Andy Irving and Guido Rodriguez. I don't think we'll sell Ward-Prowse for anything the value that he is. And what I mean by that is that he's not worth much in money value, but what he does bring is great set pieces and good vibes around the camp, which I know shouldn't account for much, but it will. We won't sell Sojek. I just don't see it. I do think he'll get that new contract, and I don't want to sell Paqueta or Alvarez. So that's kind of the zone we're in. The only two players I'd actually want to let go in the midfield would be Guido Rodriguez and Andy Irving, which sucks. It looks like I'm filming this at night, by the way, but I can guarantee you it is daytime. It's a very grey afternoon. We have the match against Everton tonight. I'm looking forward to see some of the youth guys get a go. Callum Marshall needs to start for sure. Potts look really good, so I hope he gets a lot of minutes. Same thing with maybe Preston Fearon will get some more minutes. He looked really bright, didn't he? Wouldn't surprise me if we loan him out, though. I don't think he'll be ready for the Premier League all in all, but you never know with Graham Potter. You never know. Like, that's what I like about Graham Potter, is he will give you guys a go. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the game against Everton. I think we'll play better. I hope we do. I didn't want to do a full-on preview for this Premier League Summer Series because it is a glorified preseason. You get to watch it on telly with Premier League quality and cameras and commentary, which is kind of nice. Although it does take the fun out of preseason for me a little bit. I like seeing my team go up against teams you would never see them go up against. You know, but seeing them against 3 Premier League teams, it's all right. It's good energy, I suppose. It gets the tempo up and it's a bit of fun. But yeah, guys, let me know what you guys think about Jacob Ramsey. Would you guys have him at West Ham? Do let me know in the comments down below. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to Alex and Irons. And I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.